Blood on the River, Jamestown, 1607, Chapter 9. Now falleth every man to work. The council contrived the fort. The rest cut down trees to make place to pitch their tents. Some provide clapboard to relade the ships. Some make gardens. Some nets, etc. William Simons. The Proceedings of the English Colony in Virginia. Have we crossed the ocean only to be shot by the natives the minute we set foot in Virginia? We servants gather around our mess pots, but no one eats much. James is crying, sniffling, with snot running into his mouth. I want to go home, he whimpers. Richard keeps his eyes cast down. Reverend Hunt said we'd tell them about the Bible, he said softly. He didn't say they'd want to kill us. Henry slaps him on the back with a loud thwack. You can't believe everything you hear, my boy. Abram's wild eye is vibrating off to the side. I try not to look at him. After supper, I go to find Captain Smith. He is sitting with his quill and paper, writing. Now he can add that we finally landed in Virginia, but that the natives do not want us here. I stand, waiting quietly. He finishes filling a page, blots the ink carefully, then looks up at me. Yes, Samuel? Sir, how will we make a settlement if this is Indian land? Will we have a war? He pats a barrel next to him and bids me to sit down. The men who came back to England from Roanoke Colony wrote about the Virginia Indians. They are interested in trade, and we have brought the things they prize, copper, metal tools, glass beads, needles, mirrors, and such. It is a delicate balance, but if we find a piece of land they are not using, and come to them with peace, with good to trade, I believe we can settle here without a war. He scratches his beard, thinking. We must do it without a war. There are many more of them than there are of us. That night as we bed down, I feel the rocking of the ship. I try to imagine that we are still out at sea rather than anchored near the strange new land of Virginia. I wonder if Colin and the other boys at the orphanage were right, that Richard and Reverend Hunt and I will all die here. There is a box we carried with us that was not to be opened until we reached Virginia. It contains the names of the men chosen by the Virginia Company to be our leaders, and directions for us from Virginia Company. Captain Newport gathers the other ship captains and high-ranking gentlemen on the Susan Constant and opens the box. As he reads the names, at first there are no surprises. The men are on our council will be Edward Maria Wingfield, John Radcliffe, Christopher Newport, Bartholomew Gosnold, John Martin, and George Kendall. But when he reads the last name on the list, it causes a big ruckus. The name is John Smith. He is still under arrest, Master Wingfield objects. The fact that he is out of his change does not mean his name has been cleared. He's a criminal, Captain Radcliffe declares. They raise such a fuss that Captain Smith is not allowed to become a council member. I think Captain Smith would make a better leader than most men on the council, but what I think does not matter. Captain Smith seems determined to stay out of trouble, just as I am, and he accepts the council's decision without a fight. To me, in private, he says, "You will see how quickly they will be begging for me for advice, for help and advice." Captain Newport reads more of the orders from the Virginia Company. Be careful in choosing a site for the settlement. Go up the river where you can keep a lookout so the Spanish cannot mount a surprise attack. Take great care not to offend the Virginia natives, and begin trading with them for food right away. Do not write letters home that say anything bad about the New World. People in England must not hear a single thing that would discourage them from coming to Virginia. A few carpenters and sailors go on shore and put together the shallop, a small boat meant for exploring that we brought with us in pieces. Then a group of gentlemen go off to search for a place for us to settle. The reports they come back are encouraging. They have met lots of natives and have been welcome into the villages, invited to eat with them and watch their dances. They say we do not need to fear the natives. When I look at Captain Archer's bandaged hands, I hope they are right. They are also mapping the land and water. They say they have found a point of land with deep water all around and named it Point Comfort. They have planted a tall cross at the mouth of the bay where they first landed and named the place Cape Henry. The only discouraging news is that they have not been any sign of survivors from the Roanoke colony. Then, finally, on May 13th, 1607, 17 days after we first landed in Virginia, our explorers bring us news we have been waiting for. They have chosen a place for us to settle. It's a place where the river is deep close to shore so that it is easy to moor our ships to trees. It's got fresh water from the river, rabbits, squirrels, birds, mussels, oysters, fish, crabs, strawberries, and mulberries. It's safe from the natives because there are none living nearby. We'll also be safe from the Spanish because it's on a peninsula and we will be able to see any approaching Spanish ships from miles down the river. They've named the river the James in honor of King James of England, and our settlement will be called Jamestown. The council votes and selects Master Wingfield as our first president. We sail upstream and moor the ships near our chosen site. They seem small, bobbing in the river beneath towering old trees. Their paint of blue, maroon, and yellow, so rich when we began this journey, is now faded and chipped. They have weathered nearly 5 months at sea, and they show it. As the sun sets, I gaze at what will be our new home. There are high bluffs just upstream, but our site has a sandy shoreline along the river. The trees wave their branches in the breeze, and a huge gray bird circles, calling out his objection to our presence. We bed down for one last night on the Susan Constant. I lie awake most of the night, excited, a bit scared, wondering, waiting for the first rooster crow to signal time to go ashore. The morning of May 14th, even Richard is up and ready before sunrise. I dress quickly and go up on the deck to help load the longboat. We pile in as many men and goods as we can, and then the sailors take to the oars and row to shore. When it is my turn, I ride with several of the common men and most of the chicken crates. We unload the crates and set the chickens free to peck around this new world. I wander off for a bit before anyone can give me my next task to do. I go a little way into the forest to look around. The trees are so tall, I feel as if I'm in a cathedral. I breathe in the rich smell of damp earth. The leaves are a bright early spring green, and sprinkled along the ground are tiny flowers of white, yellow, and violet. Butterflies and dragonflies add to the riot of color. I am either in a cathedral or in paradise, I think. Captain Smith finds me and hands me a straw hat and a hatchet and tells me to get to work. We will begin felling the smaller trees in order to make room for our tents and gardens. James and Richard are assigned to work alongside me. My inclination is to work on my own and ignore them. But would it be so bad to work with them, I wonder, to cooperate? Better than being chained up by Captain Smith again, with no slop bucket nearby. I decide to give it a try.